Is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
Sorry, is that okay?
Wolf Dog Guide to Navigating the Youth Sports. I'm not even writing the words down, I'm just trying.
And there you go.
Alright, deep breath. Let's freaking. Welcome to the PSA Playbook, the podcast where we explore the world of youth sports. From the nuances of player development and coaching strategies to parenting perspectives and the psychology of performance. This is your weekly guide to navigating the youth sports landscape and raising confident, capable young athletes on and off the field. Another segment today, we're going to do some parent questions. These ones are a little bit more geared towards the time of year that we're in, seasonal topics, tryouts, and off-season stuff. We'll let you take it away. Kick us off.
It's a great topic to have. So, obviously, questions from parents. We're in, what are we in? June right now? Oh my goodness.
Good Lord.
So we're coming up to the end of the season. So, the first question that I picked was, how do I know what team or club is right for my child? So I'm going to assume that's like through the tryout process. Mm-hmm. They're going to different clubs, like exploring options. Like obviously, like if you're at PSA, like me personally, I don't know if you disagree, but like go and try out regardless, because it's like just the experience of having tryouts. Like even if you don't want to move clubs, it's different environments, different experience. Obviously, everyone comes to tryouts at PSA if you're returning or not. So how do I know what team or club is right for my child?
Team or club? Well, I think for tryouts, every club kind of does it differently. It's crazy, I guess, nowadays, because it used to be the case where you would do tryouts at the end of the spring season, right, which makes sense. Your spring season is done, you try out towards the end, you figure out which team you're going to make, or if you want to move, if you want to stay, and then the spring season's already behind you. Now, clubs are doing tryouts in the beginning of the spring, like February, March, and stuff, which is insane. And I think it impacts the spring season significantly because they make those decisions. A lot of clubs, they give you like a 2-day window or whatever to like make a decision. And then if you're changing teams, your coach obviously knows that you're changing teams, and it impacts playing time.
Season, yeah.
You have the whole season where your coach, it maybe impacts your playing time, your relationship with your teammates and stuff. It's a very weird experience. But I think for parents trying to maneuver that, if they're looking to make a change, they're looking to make a change for various reasons. Is their son or daughter like not at the level that team is at, and they want to maybe take a step back where they're enjoying it a little bit more, taking it to a more like a lower level, recreation level team? Or are they the best player in the team and they want to maybe pursue a more elite level? When you're looking at a club, obviously taking all those things into consideration, at the younger ages, parents probably think about location. Is it something that's close and convenient? At the older ages, there's that many clubs in this area. They maybe are thinking about, does the club offer something that my current club doesn't? An ECNL level, an MLS Next level.
Would you say that's like facilities as well? Do you think parents look at facilities?
Probably. I think a lot of teams in this area probably have access to like turf fields now, but then you get different examples of like Revolution, for like they've got amazing facilities, amazing fields, so that is probably draws a lot of players in there. But then you probably take into account like the finances and how much a club costs and what your annual dues are and things like that. Or maybe it's a case of they've been with the team for so long and I don't know, they've outgrown it, or
change of environment.
Yeah, something new. Sometimes a player can kind of get like, maybe the environment is a little bit stale. They're so used to the coach and so used to the players, where they're not pushing themselves anymore. They're in like more of a comfort zone.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's a lot that goes into it, I feel like, but for the most part, I think parents probably make that determination based on the level that their kid is at. Do they need to be pushed more, or do they need to take a step back and get to a team that's a lower level to get more playing time and stuff?
Do you think that like not who the coach is, but like the personality of a coach? Like, do you think that comes out in tryouts and like parents can see that? Do you think that like parents even worry about that? Because like I know for females, like a lot of like the parents I've spoken to and different female coaches like have different viewpoints on like who they would want to coach their daughters type thing. I don't know if it's the same with like male athletes, but like players just in general, regardless of like your gender, like I feel like it's very important to have the coach that like knows how to work with you. And like some kids are tough love, some kids like you need like delicacy and like to have one-on-one conversations. So like do you think parents look at that as well, or it's just kind of like the name, the price, and like are they gonna get from A to Z?
It's interesting. I think because there's a lot of coach turnover, like coaches go to different clubs, and a lot of the times teams or a lot of players at the very least will like follow a coach. If they find a coach that they like, that they think is doing a great job, it's a close-knit group, and that coach is having maybe a disagreement with the club or is having issues with the club. If that coach leaves a club and goes somewhere else, a lot of times players move with them, which is crazy. But I think they, rather than like club loyalty, I think a lot of the time it is like a coach loyalty thing. And clubs have probably tried to create that infrastructure where like they want to keep coaches happy, obviously,
right?
But they're trying to create like a club environment or discuss what their missions and values are, so parents can resonate with that a little bit more rather than the individual coach. But at the end of the day, the coach just plays such a significant role with those players, getting the most out of them. Do they like them? Like you say, is it a coach that like it gives them tough love or gives them a little bit more like, I don't know, more positive reinforcement, stuff like that? I think the coach plays a huge part in that one. But yeah, the tryout process, I feel like there's so much like stress that goes into it, so much anxiety that goes into it and stuff. But the fact that these clubs in the area, and we're talking obviously soccer specific here now, but it's so early, it's insane.
I can't believe that, because like when I did tryouts, it was always like you said, like you finish your season, you chill out, and then like in the back of your head you're like, okay, I've been told I need to return back to tryouts, like this is what I need to do, and like you solely focus on that. Whereas like mid to start season, you come back from Christmas break or whatever, from indoor, and then you're like, oh, tryouts, and then you're like, wait, so like I have to how do you decide right then and there? You've not even finished your spring. How do you can't determine your development from fall to spring because you haven't done spring yet. Like, how do you? I don't understand it like at all.
I don't know if it's something that's in other areas as well, or if it's just kind of the DMV. And the DMV is such a unique place because there's so much competition, so many clubs. I mean, in the square radius of X, Y, and Z, there's dozens of clubs you can choose from. Dozens.
Throw a stone and you hit a new club. Yeah, I think it's crazy. And like to put, like I've told my girls, like you're all gonna do like your tryouts and like you have to practice now as if like you're not allowed to come back type thing. And like they're young, so like do it in a nice way, but try to train them like that's what tryouts is. So like if they do want to move clubs, like they're not going and they're just like doolally and like they deserve to be there, like they have to play like that. But I think that's so like I used to get like anxious at tryouts, and then I used to just be like, do you know what, like
I think like tryouts, the idea of tryouts and what it is, I think it's important. And I think I agree with what you're saying. Like you should almost encourage players to go to these tryout environments because as much as you want to keep your team and your kids together and work with them, for the individual player development, it's something new where they do feel anxiety and they feel like, oh, I don't know this person, I don't know this coach. So like it will tell them a lot about themselves, but it'll make them more comfortable in those uncomfortable environments. And I think for kids as well, I was speaking to a parent the other day, and he is a PSA parent who took his kid to was very open about it, but took his kid to other tryouts, and was always going to come back to our team. So he says, but he says he was going to always come back to our team, but wanted to do it to see how other clubs operated. He'd only really been with us in the travel environment, but he was so impressed with like other kids from other teams who didn't know each other and their social interactions. And how rather than like we ask our players to come up, shake hands and things like that, but in a brand new environment where you don't know the expectations, how do you act? And he was saying to me that some of these kids would go right up to his son and be like, hey, how are you? My name's this. What's your name? What club do you? And they're very outgoing. They're very like confident in their that initial social interaction and stuff. And he said that's like development in itself. So I think there's definitely a place for tryouts, and obviously they're not going anywhere, but there's obviously a lot of anxiety and a lot of weirdness that goes along with it.
I think, not to sound like a cliche, but like at the end of the day, the reason you're doing it is just to play the sport, right?
Yeah,
so like
exactly.
when I was young, like I went to tryouts like all over, and like I never wanted to leave. Like I was at Blackburn for like 7-8 years, but like I never wanted to leave, but like I wanted to go and see different clubs and like be with different people, and just kind of like I had like a lot of anxiety with that, but like I still went and did it. And it's like at the end of the day, like you're all that. You're not there to like really compete against each other. You're just there to play and see if you make a team. So I think parents, like, knowing that and have that information, like, I wouldn't mind my girls going and doing the tryouts elsewhere, but, like, obviously come back to me. Don't leave me, but, like, go and experience it and just be in that, like, completely, like, out the comfort zone. And, like, especially with the girls program, like, you guys have been established for a few years, but, like, the girls that I have right now have never even done travel. So, like, they've never even done PSA tryouts. And, like, it's been messy with the rain. But, like, they're like, oh, it's tryouts today. And they're seeing new girls come. They're not in their uniforms. They're like, who's that? Like, who's this? And they'll go up to the girls and be like, are you playing on my team? And stuff like that. So, like, they don't see it as a competition. They don't see that culture. Like, we've taught them, like, well enough to be like, tryouts is open, tryouts is supposed to be fun and enjoying, and like there's no pressure, like just do your thing, play your sport and you'll do great. Like that's what it is. And I like that environment way better than it's like you're a number, and if you do one thing wrong you get an X next to your name type thing. Because like some tryouts I went to, it was like everyone stood there with clipboards and they just don't say anything. It's very like hostile. I don't know what it's like at other clubs here, but
I mean, I actually don't think I've ever been to a tryout for these. Maybe we should put some disguises.
Start scouting. Start speaking in.
But yeah, I mean, it's especially the bigger ones, or the more established clubs. They get dozens of kids per age group and stuff, and it literally. I know, speaking to parents, they get the number. You need to register and stuff, but it must be so interesting to get put on like the different fields. And is it just like, do you do technical exercises?
Yeah,
do you do physical exercises? Do you just go and scrimmage and play and stuff? I don't know.
Maybe we should go.
Well, my question's exactly related to that. What are coaches looking for at tryouts? Attitude, athleticism, technique. What do coaches? Because I mean, clubs probably have. I mean, we have sheets that we look at.
Criteria.
Yeah, exactly. But like player assessment criteria and things. But what are coaches looking for? What do you look for?
Personally, like, I think from like U9 to U12, you're coming in from wherever you're coming from, whether it's a different travel program, a challenge program, a rec program. So like you're coming in to do tryouts for a travel team. I think the factors I'm looking at is, do you have the baselines and like fundamentals? Because like if you're a high quality player, that's great, but like 9 times out of 10 they're not going to be, and they're usually new to travel, let's say. So I think in that sense it's like the fundamentals of technical ability, the willing to learn, you know, how like attentive are you, are you listening, are you engaged, are you asking questions? And like I think it's really hard sometimes because you have to realize as a coach, like that kid might be shaking, they're so nervous, so they're not gonna play how they would play
exactly.
And so it's like you have to build that environment where it's like bringing the best out of them, but it's still, can you hit my expectations as a coach? So I think for me personally, it's like that technical ability, and it's like engaging on and off the field. Like, are you asking questions? Are you listening when other players are talking? On the field, are you engaged in play? Are you staring off into the sky? And then I think it's also like the physical ability, like especially in that like youth age group, like you don't have to be the fittest, but are you willing to like work hard? Like you're out of breath, but you're here for a reason. You want to be on a travel team. We have a standard. Can you outwork? Can you outrun? And you know, you don't have to like look like an athlete, but like, do you train or try to train or have the headspace of like a soccer player, you know, like running around doing the things that you can do? Are you defending? Are you attacking? I think it's things like that. So obviously I think it'd be different for like older age groups, like U13 and above. That's when it gets in your understanding of roles on the field. A level 2 or 3 of technical ability, coach ability, like you said. It's also like engagement with the coach respectful? Like, are you saying hello? Are you talking to other players? I think that engagement of like social aspect of a team is really important as well, because it's like if you come in and you're just stood there, for me, like, I was never like an introvert, so like it's kind of new to me, and like I understand kids are like that, but you're trying to get into my team, you're trying to get into my program, you're trying to fit in with my team. Are you asking questions? Are you talking? Are you just being like, hey, like, what about this? Like, are you engaging in all aspects on the field and off the field? I think that's super important as well.
For the older age groups, I think, especially if you already kind of have your team and you're maybe only looking to add a couple players here and there, how important is like identifying players that match the personality and the kind of core values of a team, because a lot of time you can have a very talented player who maybe comes in and disrupts things. How important is that, like identifying the personality, the attitude, and like you said, the coachability?
I think if you pick soiled fruit and put it in a nice bag, like it's gonna soil everything. So like you have to like do you like that? You have to like pick a player that fits. You think you're like creating a puzzle, like you're finding pieces to fit in correctly, and like they might not fit in just yet, but like, can I look at that player and be like, you know what, after 3 months or a month with us practicing and playing games, they're gonna fit in nicely. Is their personality, is their headspace, their mindset, like the way that they are. And it's also like the education, especially U13 and up, maybe even U12 and up, it's like the education of positional, because like you said, you're looking for certain positions at that point. Let's be honest, like you're filling gaps. Can I have a second centre back? Can I have like a third midfielder? Like things like that. And it's, do they understand that role? Do they have the attributes of that specific position? Right. And do they understand it? Like if I tell a player, hey, can you go play midfield? Are they looking at me like, I don't know what that is? Because for me personally, it might be a higher expectation, but from U12 and up, you should know the positions on the field. For sure. And if I tell you where to play, yes, you can ask me specific questions about it. That shows that you're like, oh, how do you want me to play? Or what side of the top three, or what kind of centre back? Things like that. That also engagement with the coach or with the other players also shows like education on the field. And I think that's super important for U12 and above as well. For those older age groups, personality and having somebody who comes in and doesn't annoy people or go against the values of you have to push the team.
Someone who can help the team for sure. But I think every single coach has a style that they like to play. And for me, I look at a player and I'm like, oh, I really like this, and this. And you could look at the same player and say, oh, I don't really. Every player.
Like the attributes.
For sure. Every coach can see a player, but every coach has different things that they want within their team. I like players that are very technical, that keep the ball well, that are intelligent. Some other coaches really look at physical attributes and want somebody who's like very, very quick or very, very skillful. And I think a lot of kids these days they're growing up in this like YouTube era where they watch highlights only, and they watch like Neymar doing these things, or they watch Messi doing these things. And in a game, and especially in tryouts where people think that they need to like show their best and do it, players will do those sorts of things. That for me, if I was playing with a player who was doing those sorts of things and like giving the ball away, and like I would be so frustrated. So as a coach, I think in a very, very similar way. I prefer intelligent players. I prefer players who are like technical, understand the game very, very well. Maybe not the most athletic or developed at that stage athletically. But all coaches are different. All coaches are different.
I think that's why it's like important, going back to our first question, like to experience different tryouts, because I think that teaches the player to like, no matter how many coaches you go to, every coach is different, every club is different, every team is different, but like you're still playing the way that you should play. And then only when you get selected for that team, you can only learn how they play. Like you don't learn how that team plays in one day of tryout. And like only when you're selected, like if you come to like my teams, we try to play out from the back, we try to keep the ball on the floor, and we don't hoof it and just kick it, and like we try to maintain possession, whereas other teams might be like, we want to play long, play big, we want to use these attributes, and like that's completely fine. And I think that experience for each player will teach them like to just be themselves and show their true attributes, and the coach can decide if they can fit in or not. Not like you said, if I run really fast, I'll get in, but I lose the ball every time because I'm kicking and running.
Yeah, what you're looking to do. What would you tell parents to as like a little bit of advice for their kids in tryouts?
I think just trust your own ability. Do the things that you know you're good at, like play to your strengths.
Play to your strengths. Don't try and be something that you're not.
Yeah, play to your strengths and like engage with the people around you, because that makes your play better as well. Like understanding who you're playing with. It's only an hour session or an hour and 30, but like ask them, are you right footed, left footed? Like how do you want to, if you make a play, you're playing like 3v3s or 5v5s, quick sharp movements, start asking your players like, oh, how would you want me to do this? Like engage with who you're playing with, because then it'll bring out the best in you and the best in that group. And that's what coaches are looking for, like we said. Like, can you come into my team, my established team, and make them better? I think just confidence is key. Play to your strengths, and if you're making a mistake, like just fix it. Like it's not be all in it. Like there's probably some clubs out there you make one mistake and it's a no, but like at the end of the day, if you've ever played soccer, you understand that if you're not making a mistake, that means you're sat on the bench for 90 minutes. Like, let's be honest. So that would be my advice to parents. But so I guess that kind of goes to the next question that I had, is how should players prep for a new season? So through the summer, if they're returning players, if they're completely new to travel, like how do you think their kind of like preparation in summer should be?
Well, definitely not like sitting on the couch all summer and like playing video games and doing that.
Eating Cheetos.
Yeah, staying active is the biggest thing. It's so obvious when players come back and they've been to the beach or they've been home, and everybody has different schedules in the summertime. Right. Some parents prioritize summer school. Some parents have like vacations, or kids go away and visit family and stuff like that. If you're serious about being on a travel team and performing well, especially as the season comes back, I think you need to have like stayed active with the ball. Get touches every single day, or every other day, depending on kind of your age or your level that you're trying to achieve. And then like doing things to make yourself better as well. If you've had an end of season, some sort of like an exit interview with your coach, and your coach is saying, these are 3 things that you need to work on, how like great would that be to be coming back from an off season and to show your coach, oh, you said I didn't defend very well. Okay, look now, I'm a lot more aggressive, I'm a lot more athletic. You said my weak foot wasn't very, very well. Well, I've been like working on the passing and shooting in my weak foot. Look how much I've improved. So if you can take those exit interviews on those things that you maybe didn't do well in the previous season and really, really focus on them, because the summer is like it's a long time. 2 months, 2.5 months now is like an off season summer break for kids. It's important to work on like the things that you're not very good at as well. Yeah. And I think within that as well, maybe not like burning yourself out.
I was gonna say, I think like some parents feel, or some players feel like, oh, now I have to do like 2 hours a day to maintain fitness. No, like 30 minutes with the ball, 30 minutes without the ball. If it's in the morning and then late at night you're just kicking about, like even sometimes just getting a group of friends together and playing, like you're still engaging your brain in soccer, and then the next day you're like, okay, I'm going to take 30 minutes of doing like soccer fitness, and like planning it like that. Like I don't think you have to go to complete depths, like no summer fun at all. Yeah, but it's got to be a balance.
Sure. What would you prioritize, like, and even for the different age groups? Camps versus private training versus a summer league? What would you prioritize?
I think private training would be like once a week for that technical. Like tell your coach who you're with, I just want to work on technical, because you can do fitness by yourself and you can do like the camps and stuff is just playing. I think summer leagues or being in summer rec, anything like that where you have scrimmage based sessions, for sure. Get that like completely like tick that box, because game fitness is different to normal fitness, and like playing with people that you've never met before also helps with that social, that cohesion, that understanding who you're playing with, and also the attribute of just being yourself and like working on what your coach has told you, work on what your strengths are. I think so. Definitely some sort of scrimmage play in like a rec, a summer league, individual practices, private practices, like solely technical, and then like your fitness, like make it fun. Like ask your coach for some drills that are like speed and agility. Ask your coach, like, are we gonna do a timed mile? How do I train for that?
Yeah.
Maybe potentially get your teams and be like, hey, do you guys want to do like a run club where it's like 1 day a week we run together type thing? Anything like that. Like, I think those are your 3 like main ones, and like again, different ways to go about it.
Yeah, I think a lot of clubs take the summer off, but they sometimes offer Super Y, or I mean, every single club will offer
What's
some sort of like
Super Y?
Super Y League is like a summer league. Summer
like,
specifically,
like playing.
yeah, you. I mean, it's been going for ages now, but it's regionalized. It's like everything. Normally, they do evening practices and evening games midweek. So for example, a club will train on a Tuesday evening and then play games on a Thursday evening. Right. So clubs will be doing that, but I feel like camps for the most part, they're kind of like outdated. It used to be you used to do like soccer camps and you used to like 9 a.m. to 3, and it's kind of like outdated now, especially if you're looking to get things done and be efficient with the time that you're going to put in. You're not going to be getting a lot done at like noon to 3 in July on a field and stuff. You'll be struggling. But no, I think it's massive for kids, especially the kids who are having that transition to 11-a-side, where you're going to need to be running a lot more than you were in 99, 7v7 and stuff. Do you need to do fitness?
Do you think it's on the parent to hold them accountable for their summer, or do you think it's the players, like kind of like, what do you think?
It's always on the player. It should always be the player wants to do it, and the player like feels the motivation to do it because they want to be better in an ideal and in a perfect world. The reality of it is, kids, especially these days, have so many distractions. They have so many opportunities to be like gaming, looking at streams, doing all the things that like the kids do these days. So a parent will need to help and dedicate time. Again, it varies on your age and stuff. There's some kids who are like super motivated and want to be out there every single day, and it's at the forefront of their mind to try and improve and become better.
Yeah.
Some kids, they need a little bit of a push, and that's just very, very normal. Parents should recognize that. It's very normal for a kid to like get into a comfort zone of something. They've just had a very long school year. They're like, Mom, Dad, I want to chill. I want to do that. And so the reality of it is like anything, it's finding a balance. But the kid should want to do it. The parent should know that it's obviously very normal that they push back against it and stuff, and maybe want to be couch potatoes for a while and stuff. What about playing other sports in the summer?
Definitely. I don't see why not. I feel like it's the same thing really, like in different environments. I think playing a completely different sport as well, like it's like we spoke with Mercedes last week, was like that switch off, like you're not in school but like you're also not, it's that mental kind of like tiredness and strain and stress. If I'm playing a completely different sport, there's no pressure to be good at it. There's also no pressure to like you're just there to play type thing. Like even if it's like a completely random sport, and it's different to soccer, you're learning different things. Basketball, hand-eye coordination, like if you do volleyball, if you do like tennis, anything like that, it's just for fun, it's for fitness, and it's to just be outside and like moving. And I think it helps to like switch off sometimes from soccer, because like if you're doing it 12 out of the 12 months, it starts to become you're burnt out at some point. You are burnt out. So I think switching a little bit and like getting involved in different things, definitely, like multi-sport camps as well, like that's great, because like when soccer does come around like one day in that week, the kids like super excited, but like they've also experienced different things, and that could be a pathway to different sports for them.
I think for the summertime, and I used to love to do it as well, and something maybe kids don't do now. I know older ones definitely do, but like just pick up, because you're not being coached. It's not in a team where there's like a structure and stuff. It's just like it's more free play. It encourages more creativity and stuff. I think if kids can like go to fields more, and like especially in Loudoun County where there's fields everywhere. Like you have Hanson that's very close. You have Loudon Soccer Park and stuff. If you get pickup games going, 3v3s and 4v4s, 5v5s and stuff like that, that's the best, because there's no structure to it. You're just being creative. You're playing. You're still getting like match fitness and stuff, but it doesn't feel like work a lot of the time too. It doesn't feel like you're with a personal trainer and you're like, oh, this is like work. I'm here to like get better.
I think that helps to like boost enjoyment of the sport as well, because I think
for sure.
I don't know if you're finding it, but I think some of my girls are getting a bit burnt out where they're like, they show up to practice with like high energy and stuff like that, but it's also just like you can tell they're tired, like it's coming towards the end of school, like they've been through testing or whatever they do, plays, everything like that. It's getting a bit busy, and then their brains are also switched on for summer because mom and dad are saying we have to go on this trip, that trip, we have to do these things, so like their brains are kind of all over the place. And I think playing like pickup would help to just kind of like enjoy the sport and like not think about what you're actually doing.
Yeah, pickup's the best. And if you really enjoyed a sport, and I definitely did this, but you brought a ball everywhere.
Yeah.
Literally everywhere. Beach, you bring a ball. You go to the pool, you bring a ball and stuff. So if your child really enjoys the sport, they'll do that. I feel like.
No, I definitely agree. I feel like I always had a soccer ball. I always had my cleats with me.
Yeah, it's weird.
I don't know why.
I never did that.
I always did. Just in case there was like a grass field and I wasn't, because my dad was like super like, you know, don't wear your cleats on concrete, don't wear your shoes in grass, blah, 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 mud, whatever.
I was getting worried there because you hadn't mentioned your parents in this episode.
Hello, Dad.
No, normally it's all the time. So I was getting a little worried. Thank God you dropped them in there.
Sorry. Shout out James and Belinda. Is it my turn for a question?
Yep.
Is it? Okay. One more. What do I do if my child is anxious about tryouts?
I mean, I would say to them, we talked about it a little bit, but I'd say it's very normal, because you're going into a situation where you're going to get judged, and you're going to get judged. So you're going to be anxious. But I think being anxious and being nervous about something like that is like a good thing, because you're going to need to have the ability in your life in every aspect to overcome that. There's going to be things, there's going to be job interviews, there's going to be college interviews, there's going to be so many experiences in your life where you're nervous about the result of something. You need to still perform well, being nervous in that moment, and you need to figure out how to deal with it. So I think telling them it's perfectly normal, everybody else will probably be very, very nervous, and giving them key things to like focus on. Like, don't worry if you make a mistake. You're going to make a mistake. Don't worry if you do this, this, or this. And then little bits of advice of like, okay, who are you as a player? You're a very technical player. Show that you're a very technical player. Or you're a very fast creative player. Show that you're a very fast creative player.
Do you think that coaches should take a moment at like the start of tryouts to kind of speak to the kids about that? Like, hey, like just play, do your thing, enjoy. Do you think coaches should take a moment to mention that? Or do you think they should kind of like allow the player to deal with it? Because you got to think, the way that I think is the parent anxious, which then makes the kid anxious, and then it's coming and they kind of need someone to be like, hey, just breathe, do your thing, because like the parent might be anxious about, like, they want it so bad for the kid's been talking about it, and they might be kind of like, you know, pushing that environment a little bit.
I think it's definitely the coach's role, or like a club director, whoever's going to be there, to set the stage and at least be like, hey, everybody, I know this is a tryout. We all know this is a place where you're coming. You're going to be judged. Some players are going to make a team. Some players are not going to make a team. Right. There's going to be people that are happy. There's going to be people that are upset about it. Overall, I think it's up to the club to understand that at the end of the day, there's so much stress put on these kids to make the first team, make the top team and stuff like that. The reality of it is you should address the group and say, listen, regardless of what happens, your journey doesn't end here. You don't make a team. There's always next year. Like your pathway is going to continue. There's going to be a place for you regardless. Be confident. Do your best. Whatever's going to happen is going to happen. Even regardless of what that coach or that director says, kids will still be anxious and nervous. But I think it is a responsibility for them to set the stage and try and like
calm everyone down a little bit. Make it kind of like known. And I think that also shows you as a coach, and like the kids are like, oh, like I think kids, like, they take in a lot. Like whatever you say, they take in a lot. So I think if you're setting that like kind of like environment or of practice where it's like, hey, it's just a practice, do your thing, like, you got it. And then they're like, oh, I like this coach already type thing, like I take to this coach, especially with girls. I don't know if the boys are like super emotional, but like the girls, like I feel like if I heard that as a little player, I'd be like, oh, I feel better already, because girls like to talk about everything at practice. That is the difference between boys and girls. Girls like to ask questions. Let's talk about what we're doing in practice today way before we do it, whereas boys are like, ball now. So I do agree with you with that one.
I think recognizing as well that like there's every parent and kid, there's so many different types of parents. There's some type A, they're like, you need to make this team, and there's some that are super chill, drop their kid off, go, like you're going to try out, whatever. So there's the spectrum of like type A and super high maintenance versus super chill. There's a whole range within that spectrum.
Yeah. So, and you don't know as a coach, do you? No like idea. The kid walking up to you, you don't know what their parents are like.
Yeah, no clue.
And you don't know who brought them today. So I think I definitely agree. I think coach takes that anxiety away. I think parents should, even though they're probably screaming inside their heads, like, you know, be like friend mode where it's like, hey, like, you'll be fine. Like, do great. Go have fun. And then when they leave the car, you're like,
don't mess up, yourself. Better make that team.
They start making notes as well. Yeah, definitely.
No, but I think for coaches as well, definitely setting the stage and speaking to the to everybody as a trial. But I remember going to tryouts when I was a kid as well, and sometimes when a coach pulls you aside, coaches will always probably go to like the best players and go and pull them in. But it goes a long way when a coach goes up to a player and has like a little 15-second, 30-second engagement where it's like, hey, what's your name? How's it going? You enjoying yourself?
Yeah.
Like those sorts of little moments, they go a long ways. And it's probably very tough when clubs have cattle calls and like dozens of kids showing up and stuff.
I couldn't imagine walking up and like just seeing like a crowd of kids and you're like, oh, I have to compete, and everyone's been telling me how important this is, and you're like,
kids are so observant as well. They're so observant in the things that go on in their mind, because like you say, especially when you haven't done something before, you go in there and you see kids, you're like, oh, they're so big, they're so athletic. Look, he's got these really cool cleats on. Like,
he's got new cleats that I've got.
Exactly. They're so observant, they see all these sorts of things.
Yeah.
And then there's obviously the kids who are a lot more alpha at those stages,
they don't
versus
really care,
far more introverted and stuff. So there's such a range. Tryouts is wild. I mean, we read a dissertation on tryouts and like the psychology behind it. No, we should
write one. I swear every podcast you like have a new book or a new dissertation.
All these
must do a lot of writing.
All these fake dissertations.
Do you have any more questions?
Nah, that was it. I think we covered a lot there, didn't we?
Yeah.
Well, I hope this stuff is like valuable, because like I say, parents have such a different perspective to coaches, have such a different perspective to kids. So I think just like talking about these things and being involved, being engaged. I think the biggest thing for me always is that whatever sport that you're playing, this pathway, it needs to be collaborative. It cannot be a parent telling the kid every single time. It cannot be the parent just like making a decision about things. It needs to be that triangle of player, coach, and parent. It needs to be collaborative. It needs to be input from all aspects. Depending on the age, obviously, some of the kid will just be like, yeah, I'll do whatever.
Yeah, you gotta have like conversations.
You need to ask questions. You need to ask questions. It needs to be collaborative. Try as much as possible to get people on the same page. You need to communicate about it.
I do think like if the parent decides yes because they're the money man, they're gonna pay for it, take that box. But like, does your kid actually want to do it? Because then when your kid's like, sure, and then you buy into it, you have done everything as a parent, and then your kid halfway through the season isn't really bothered anymore. The parent then gets annoyed at the coach or gets annoyed at the kid when it's like, but we need to sit down and talk about it. Like a lot of like my rising U9s that like we've offered positions to, a lot of the parents have been like, no, this is great, we're in futures program, we see what you guys are doing, we've been learning, I need to talk with player A, I need to talk with my daughter. And I love that because it's like, take your time, here's all your information. Like the most important person is the player, because they have to do it. Like parents they sit in their deck chairs and they watch and they cheer on. Like the kid has to do it. So I think that's super important to like you said, like parents speak to coaches, coaches speak to players, players speak to everyone. Like, have that triangle of just, like, talking about everything instead of just, like, the parent making a decision and then get angry when the kid's, like, more bothered about dance class than their travel program that they just paid for, you know? And I think it's also, like, I don't know, how do you feel about... I'm going to buy in for a question. This is my question of the day. The parent wants to move clubs, but the kid doesn't. What do you do?
I've had a couple of those experiences this season within this week, actually. There's nothing you can do. The reality of the situation is the parent, especially in this area with these amount of options, it's like it's a buyer's market. You can do whatever you want to do. It's kind of crazy that there's coaches now at other clubs calling and recruiting 8 and 9 and 10-year-olds. It's embarrassing, actually, but won't name names. But I think there's, as a coach, there's nothing you can do. Like I say, it just needs to come down to communication. You need to try as best as possible to show that your environment, your team, and your club is providing what this player is wanting. Are they enjoying themselves? Are they improving? If those questions are being met, then you should be sticking around. If they're not being met, you need to ask the question and still sit down and ask why are they not being met. But if a parent wants to go somewhere else, like I think a coach at least deserves like a conversation. Why?
Yeah.
Is it something I'm doing? Is it something the club is doing? Why is it location based? Is it financially based? Is it development based? Is it sometimes status based? Do you want to just say that you're on like this at this club?
Clout.
I don't know. But I think it all comes down to conversation. Ultimately, there's nothing you can really do. It's a kid. They're not contracted to stay with you.
Yeah. So what if the player comes to you as a coach and was like, "Oh, I've been trying out, but I want to stay," and they're kind of like understanding the process and not wanting to happen. I think that's a hard position to be in, because as a coach you got to be like, oh, do what's best for you, blah blah blah, but they're also like, you can't tell them yes or no, and you can't tell the parent yes or no because the parent's made their mind up, unless you just give them, like you said, talk to them, provide anything you can, but at the end of the day they make the decision. But what if the player really wants to stay? What do you do? Like, what do you do in that? Nothing?
I just don't know what you can do. Slide them a mini contract and say, sign this, and then you're...
This 8-year-old signing contracts in the corner.
I don't know.
No, that's, I guess, food for thought, really.
You say, go find your parents.
Tell your mom and dad.
You tell them.
Just say you'll run away.
Want to come hang out, live with Coach Leigh? I don't know. Yeah, that's tough. Again, it's just it's crazy. There's so much that goes into this process, and it's just like there's so many things that need to fall into place and align for it to be a good experience. So if you found a good experience and your child wants to do something and is encouraged to do it and has the appetite to do it, why would you want to change that?
Yeah, all about the kid, innit?
In it,
Wolfie.
Wolfie with the shades on today.
All right, guys.
That was good. I thought we talked about some good content there. Right?
Thanks, guys.
Thanks for stopping by. Hopefully that was insightful, and we'll see you guys next week.
See ya.